Welcome to the Granite Zero podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Pleasure is all mine, as always. He says as he's still sorting out his shit admin. So how's it going?
Better over here.
How's it going?
Well, like I was saying, just another day, just hanging out.
Yeah, well, it's what time's over there now? Like lunchtime, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 1:30,
I see.
13:30, however anyone wants to hear it.
yeah. Depends if you're a military speaker or not. But yeah, it's all good. It's all good. How's your day been so far? Before we get straight into the nitty gritty.
Just hanging out. It's Mother's Day here, so it's just me and my 4-year-old.
Oh,
having
awesome.
Having a regular day, I guess. I mean, it's not like she knows the difference.
Yeah. So. That's cool, man. That always confuses me because over here, our Mother's Day is like March. Why is it different? Fucking madness is what it is. Madness.
It is.
So what have you got? You got a little girl?
Yeah, I got a 4-year-old girl, and dad's in the military, so it's just us right now.
Ah, sweet. Yeah. It's an amazing age, isn't it? Like
it is for them.
Yeah, for them. For us, nothing but stress. Definitely. Yeah, mine are well, my eldest is nearly 10, and my youngest is 7. So it's like, yeah, I've got all the attitude, all of it. It's like living with 2 teenagers.
Mine was born with attitude. Mine came out with attitude. So everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it's gonna get better." It's just like, will it though?
Doesn't though. Doesn't get any better. No, just full of preteen sass. That's what we have. Preteen. But were you the same as a kid? Do you think? Because whenever I look back, I'm like, I wasn't that much. I wasn't that a bad kid. I didn't backchat my parents. Definitely did, 100%. But in my head, definitely didn't.
Yeah, I think we always look back and it's just like, yeah, I was a good kid.
Yeah,
but
they'll look back and they'll go,
I know my parents probably have
it. Yeah.
I know I didn't have as much sass as my daughter does. I was a little bit shyer. I was a lot shyer than she is, but yeah, she was getting from her dad. It ain't me.
just blame the dad. So that's always the way. It's like my missus is always saying, "Oh, they've got my temper." It's like, why am I getting the blame? It's not my fault. Blame, and I'm like, well, blame my dad. How about that?
Just keep it going down the line.
Yeah, down the line.
Generational.
So you, how long did you serve in the U.S. Army?
I did 4 active and 2 in the reserve. It was supposed to be an 8-year contract, but they threw me a little deal where it's like, hey, if you go to the reserves, we'll cut 2 years off your contract.
Oh,
so I was like, oh, can't beat that. And then I went to the reserves. I was like, oh, you could have beaten that.
Yeah, cheers for that. Nice one. Yeah, because we have a similar sort of thing. So I did 5.5, but instead of doing like an active reserve, it's just on your record. So if we get called up for anything, then we get called up. But other than that, it's just being in the civvy street. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How did you find the transition from military to civvy? Do you find it all right?
Oh, it was crap. And like, if it could go wrong, it went wrong. And it was like, they give you all the brochures about like, this is how transition works. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not.
No, it's exactly the same over here. Apart from they pretty much just go. So we have a thing that's called like enhanced learning credits. So basically for anyone that's in the infantry and didn't have any fucking school degrees or whatever, you could get a trade, that sort of thing. But what I found was most of the military then go, oh, I'll just get into the same sort of thing. I'll go into like security work and things like that. So it's pretty much, here's what you could do, crack on. It's like, oh, cheers. No
that
guidance.
was really the whole time.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing going in. It's like your job's gonna make you awesome when you get out, and then you find out nobody wants you. Like, it's trash. Like, yeah, it's nothing. They
Yeah.
build it up just so you can be broken down again. So
It's a strange transition. You can kind of see why so many struggle with the transition, seeing as it's May is Mental Health Awareness Month or whatever, even though it should be every month. But that's just me on that one.
no, definitely should be.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you can definitely see why veterans come out and they're like, "What the fuck is this?" I think a lot of it is down to having structure. Like, I enjoy having set times to get to do stuff. Otherwise, my OCD and the row season shit just goes through the roof, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" And I start pacing and
Yeah.
whatnot.
It's a little too much freedom at the
Mm.
end. Like it's
Which
too
is a strange,
much
it's a
at
strange
one
thing to
time.
say, though, isn't it? It's too much
Yeah,
freedom.
there's definitely a thing it's too much because when you're used to that structure and it's just like I had friends that got out and they needed somebody to kick their door in the morning to tell them to get the hell up and go to their job. And it kind of eliminates a lot of thinking because it's like you're going to put on the same uniform, do the same thing. It's a pretty redundant life. And so there's a
Yeah.
lot of simplicity to it because it's just same thing, different day. And then you get out and it's just like, I have all this time and no one's going to make a decision for me. So I just have to figure it out. But I don't know what the hell I want to do or what I'm good at anymore. And you kind of don't know who you are when you get out because you've been associated with this military thing. And it's like, so who am I outside of that?
Yeah. And that's a huge thing because that was one of my issues was the I lost myself. I didn't know who I was because I was always associated with wearing the uniform, being in the military. People asking me, "What, Tommo? What do you do for?" Oh, I just got back from Iraq, or I've just got back from Afghanistan. I'm getting ready to go to another thing. I'm going on exercise, that sort of thing. And then it was, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a security officer. It's like, oh, nobody really cares. And that lack of self-worth, self-importance, I don't know. That was one of my main factors of why I started to struggle when I left.
Yeah, for me, it was like that sudden lack of value and a lack of purpose. It was like, I don't really know. You're kind of just floating through the day. It's like, I don't really, when people would ask me, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm in the Army. They let it be that. Like, that's all you had to say. It's like, that's good
Yeah,
enough. You're a good
yeah.
person in society.
Oh, so
Congratulations for what you do.
you fight for the country? Yeah.
Yeah, you're good. And then you get out. I'm like, oh, I go to school full time and stuff. And they're like, oh, so
Yeah.
you're a
Oh,
bum.
yeah. So you're a student. Okay, so you do nothing but
Yeah,
eat
it's a
eat
cool.
Doritos and drink beer all day. So
And then there's that idea like, oh, because you're using your GI benefits. Oh, it must be nice to go to school for free. And like, and so it's just kind of like, and then it makes you feel worse. Like, I know I definitely had that point of kind of questioning, like, do I even deserve what I worked for? Like, I went to the military for this. Now I have it. And now people are making me feel guilty for having it. But it's like,
yeah.
I did my time. It ain't
Yeah.
free.
No, it's definitely not free. It's not free. So what sort of was the starting point for you to join the military?
Lack of purpose. I mean, I had started going to school. I was almost done with an associate's degree. I was an art student. And then my parents started going like, especially my dad. My dad was a Vietnam veteran and he's kind of like, what the hell are you going to do with an art degree? And I was like, I don't know. Like, like,
That's a good.
uh, I didn't think about it that far. I guess nothing. And so it kind of got to that point where it's like, okay, like, so my day was literally go to school, go to the beach and go surf. And it's like, how long can I live that life?
Yeah.
And then it was like, it's not going to get me out of my hometown. And I was pretty miserable where I lived. So it's just like, I had friends that were going in the military and it seemed like the quick fix for my issue. Like, I need a purpose. I need some direction. I need somewhere to go. I really need a job and some money. And so I had a buddy that's kind of like, hey, it's the best 9 to 5 you could ever ask for. Like, oh,
Is it? Oh,
is that
sign me
it?
up.
Yeah, that's basically what happened. Went down. I was like, here, sure, I'll join. And then it was never that. it was like within a few months of joining, I was in Afghanistan. It was just like I seriously asked for this.
Yeah.
Like, all
Yeah.
right. But it was still that idea of like, but I feel like I have some value now. So like I'll deal with the BS because it's like I'm worth something now, right? I have a job. I'm like doing something for society. So that was the big thing. I just felt worthless without it.
Yeah, it does give you that sense of purpose. It does make you feel good putting on the uniform, I must admit. And yeah, I was in a similar sort of narrative. Really, it was like, what am I going to do when I leave? Because I think our version of college is slightly different to yours. Our university is the same as your university, but college, because you that's right, isn't it? You guys call university college. I get confused, but
I mean, it kind of like college. A lot of times people are like, it's the community college. It's your
yeah,
2 year
yeah,
institutions, and then university is usually your 4 year and
yeah.
up.
So we have it's basically the middle gap between high school and university. We have like a it's called a sixth form college or a technology college where you get your the next stage after your first set of qualification. Anyway, that is the most boring thing I've ever spoke about on this show. But anyway, so I just completed that. I was working for my dad at the gym, and I was always going to join the Air Force at some point, but it was like I remember it was one day we were painting the banisters in the gym, and I was like, this is shit. And my dad started going, "You got to bloody paint these banisters." I was like, "No, I'm not." And he went, "Well, bloody join the Air Force then." And I am. And then a few weeks later, that was it. Signed up, off. I didn't get the job that I wanted to. I wanted to be a personal trainer because you could have PTIs, we call them, personal training instructors over here, and you
Mhm.
could go in straight as that job, and that is what I'd learned through college and school. Was always good at sports, etc. Did I pass the aptitude test? Did I fuck? Hey, here's a list of what you could do. It's like, oh, I'll just do that one at the bottom. What's that? Oh, that's the infantry. Yeah, cool. We'll do that.
I originally went into an Air Force recruiter. That was because my mom was like, go Air Force. No one in my family ever had. Everybody was Army or Marine Corps. So I was just like, okay, I guess. And I went there. I didn't like it. Like, I kind of like being around like the airmen and stuff like that. And I was just kind of like, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah,
And then so like I disappeared for a little while. I went back to college and I came back. I was like, no, I'm gonna go Army. I'm just gonna follow my dad and go Army.
yeah.
And then like later on, I saw like airmen, like we'd work with them. It's like, God, they're so clean. And like
I
shit.
love that
Like
because over here
wrong job.
The Air Force get the same shit. Like for be like staying in hotels and always looking pristine.
Looking
Do you,
sharp.
do you guys ever go out in the field, etc.? The funny thing is, with the regiment that I served with, we are the most hated regiment in the entire military because one, we're under the Air Force umbrella. Two, we're technically infantry. However, the army don't see us as infantry because we're Air Force. The Marines don't see us as infantry because we're Air Force. Um, and the Air Force look at us and go, "Well, you're too stupid to do what everybody else is doing." And yeah, it's just it is funny, but yeah, I always laugh because we get all those like military banter pages and things like that where they try and dig each other out, and we always get the same shit. Oh, you don't leave the wire, you're stuck in on the camp, you're in the Air Force, you stay in a hotel, and it's like, hang on. When I look back through all my tour photos, I very rarely was
Where
like,
the hell is that?
yeah, yeah. Where's the fence line? I don't see it. Um, but yeah, so you went to Afghanistan. You went to was it? I'm gonna throw it out there. I'm gonna say Kandahar.
I was out of Paktika province. So I was out in the Sharana. So we were out by like Hindu Kush Mountains, like right near the Pakistan border. So we
Ah,
were just kind of floating around out in that Dust Bowl. And
it's a beautiful
I was there
place.
2012, 2013 for Operation Enduring Freedom. So that was an
You
experience.
guys have the best names for operations. Operation
I
Enduring
don't
Freedom. I love
New Dawn.
so you guys
Yeah.
have like Operation Desert Storm and stuff like that. We have Operation Telic. I don't even know what a Telic is. Um, the other one, Operation Herrick. What? Who is thinking of these? Hey, British forces, be cooler. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, like, I need the cool name for it though, because then when people are like, "So what did you do?" It's just like, I sat in a guard box. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I counted goats. I watched over the camels. Like,
I saw,
you know,
I saw a
cool
few
name. But it is.
yeah, I saw a
What's
few
that?
locals cutting about, having
Yeah, it was just like, I think I saw a vehicle on the Bolo list one day. Like, it's just like, really, it's just you doing stupid stuff in a box with somebody else and just
Oh
trying
yeah,
to not
trying to
kill
stay
each
awake.
other.
Trying to stay awake, trying to keep busy. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it was some deployment, all right.
So when you left, um, was it straight after that you started the podcast, or did you have like a transition?
The podcast came a couple years after I left the reserve, so uh, about 4 years after I left active. So it took a minute to get into it. I'd started as a blog at first
Yeah,
because I didn't like talking about it, so it's just easy to write it down and just kind of throw it out there for whoever. And it mostly came after I had a buddy commit suicide about a month before I got out of active duty and didn't really process it for a couple of years. And then somebody else from my unit killed himself. And then somebody else from my unit killed himself. And then it just started happening. It was just like, what? And I was still struggling with the transition. So I was just like, is that what we're supposed to do? Like when we
it's
can't
like
figure it
yeah,
out, is that the way to go?
it's like
And so really,
everything piling in at once as well.
and I was coming to the end of school, and my teachers just like were really into what I was writing about because I always tried to make the projects about the veteran community, about the
Yeah,
military, and and they really just kind of like kept pushing me, like keep writing, keep doing what you're doing. And so as soon as I left college, it was like I'm gonna, or I guess at that point university, it was like I'm gonna take all these classes where I've been doing all these writing prompts and I'm going to start turning it into something. And then when it went to a podcast was when I started having veterans hit me up, go, I really like what you're writing about, but I really hate reading. So could you
yeah,
just like
yeah.
read it for me?
I get what you mean there. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I did a similar sort of transition in the way that when I was out on tour, that's when I started jotting thoughts, feelings. But I was never any good at articulating myself quite the way I wanted to because I'm quite severely dyslexic. You might want to say severe. I don't know. Where my brain is working too fast for my hand to keep up. So every time when I eventually turned my tour diaries, as I called them, into my book, and I was reading back through it, I was like, "What the fuck am I going on about there?" It's like you are missing about 4 words. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I started my podcast was I didn't know how to write it down, and instead of writing it down, I spoke instead, which I found very beneficial. It was like the weights were starting to lift off a little bit. Is that sort of how you felt as you were writing down? Because obviously you're going through the transition. You've got all your buddies that have did the ultimate sacrifice and taken their own life, and you've got all this weight on you. It's like what you
Yeah, I definitely
need to release
bottled
that.
a lot of it up.
Yeah, you got
And like kept
air
just
valve.
kind of, I kept shoving it all down for years. And so then when I finally started just saying it, it was like the dirty secret's out. Like I'm
Yeah,
struggling.
but
And
that's a huge thing, isn't it? That you like sort of touched on a little something there. The dirty secret, as if it's a bad thing to be suffering.
but
And
that's what you're kind of
yeah,
what
and
we were taught.
that's what you're
It
told.
was like,
Hey,
shut
you
up.
want to you are you struggling? Yeah, don't talk about that shit, motherfucker.
Yeah, like find a different issue. Like
Yeah,
but it was always about like you'd go through all these PowerPoints and classes and training and they have signs all over the army posts. It's just like reach out, do this, do that, but you can't. I mean, it's a total setup of like, it's the perception that you could do it. They're checking a box. We
Yeah.
told them they could reach out, but really you got someone on the side that's like, shut the fuck up. Like, don't say anything about it. Just keep doing duty first. Keep trucking.
Service before self.
Yeah. And so, and when you do that, that transitions over, always putting it before yourself. So you don't learn self-care. You don't learn how to like actually put yourself before anything else, even putting other people before you, because that's all it's about. You got to save everybody and you got to get everybody back home safe and all this stuff. So you're always on the back burner.
Definitely.
And so for me, writing it was just like, here it is. And once it was unleashed and people started saying like, hey, I feel the same way, it was like, holy shit, you mean I'm not the only one that couldn't handle it? Like, wow.
That's the mad thing about how many there are, even serving, that are still like taboo for you to say anything. And you're right as well, you're always looking out for someone else before yourself, whether it is the job first, or I was always quick to give advice and go and speak to my mate who's struggling, rather than actually focus on myself. So I thought, well, if I'm focused on myself, that's really selfish. But in terms of your own personal mental health, you've got to be at some point. Otherwise, like you said, you're bottling it all down, and then all of a sudden you're like, well,
burn out.
I'm done now.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that.
No, but it's like you're always kind of pushed that way, where it starts to feel like maybe once I do my service and my contract's up, like you're expendable. Like you're taught that from the get-go. Like you'll be replaced. You die in combat by your own hand, whatever, you're gonna be replaced by tomorrow. Nobody really gives a shit if you like. And it almost felt like if you took yourself out, it's like, well, the trash is gone. Like you were too weak.
There's the baggage. There's the weakness. They've got.
It's so it's just, you just. That's why, like, when I started writing my book and stuff like that, I called it Bottled Away, because it was like, it's really, you're taught to just keep pushing it down, put a cork on it, and just live with it. See how long you can hold it in there before some shit starts to explode, like, or you just give up.
Yeah. Give up and just, quit. And you find,
and then you have to deal with that, because you can't be a quitter.
No,
hear that.
God.
Quit.
What, you quit? I ain't got no time for you, son. It's mad. It really is mad. And I don't know what it was like for you when you released the book, or when you started doing the blogs and the podcast, if you had any sort of online hate or anything like that from fellow people. But
I got all of it. I got the good, the bad, the ugly. Like, it was everywhere. Everything.
I had so much positive stuff, like a few weeks afterwards. When I first started, all the hate. You can't be talking about that. You haven't got it. How do you know I haven't got it? How do you know I haven't got depression, PTSD, or anything like that? How do you know? Are you my doctor?
When I brought up PTSD, that was like, okay.
That is like,
that's too far.
That's pulling out the red. Yeah, that's pulling out the red flag for the bulls, isn't it? But it's the same with me. And I have no idea what it's like for you as a combatant female, but when I did it, because I was in the regiment that I stated I was in, everyone was like, "How have you got it?" We didn't do anything. It's like, I didn't have to do anything.
That was always the misperception, was this idea of like, it was always trained like PTSD, anxiety, all these things come from like, it's the combat disorder. And it's really, we save PTSD for not just a small fraction of our society to say that's the military thing. We save it for the even smaller fraction of the military that says you went out and actually did like real combat.
I had it. I had it with I had him on the show as well. Would have been last year. A close friend of mine lost both his legs in an IED incident, and they said to me, "Robbo is okay. So why are you got all these problems?" It's like, I'm sorry. But it was like, well, I don't know. But even Robbo has said to me, he was like, well, I don't even remember it happening. So I've woke up, I've got no legs. I've just got to deal with it now. But he went, for everybody else, they had to deal with it. Yes, I wasn't there directly, but indirectly, just to clarify, the Robbo having his legs blown off did not give me PTSD. Just want to clarify that before any of my little troll friends come on and say, Tommo said this. It's an accumulation of many different situations and scenarios throughout my life. There we go. I said it again. Got to clarify these things because I've had a few trolls that like to cut and snippet bits of my podcast and make funny videos out of it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I thought they were quite funny, but it helps them. It helps them. If it helps them and they feel better, crack on.
You're welcome.
Yeah. You could thank me later.
Yeah, I got a lot of the hate mail, and it was from people I served with. It was what it started as. It wasn't strangers. It was people I served with that are like, you did not go outside the wire. How are you so broken? And it's like, well, for one, you and I served together for 2 years. I was in for 6. So that leaves some years there that you don't know what happened, but also the fact that it wasn't military. Like I dealt with more violence stateside than I did ever in Afghanistan. And so it was kind of, I got blindsided by other shit in life. And so that's where I started talking about more because it was this idea of like, we're really cutting off a lot of people from being able to reach out by having this really stupid perception of what, you know, you're allowed to complain about, like who's allowed to actually talk about it and who's allowed to struggle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even in sort of today's climate as well, especially over here, I'm not sure what it's like over in America, but obviously with the pandemic that we're going through, our nursing system, because we have public healthcare, so that there's free healthcare. A lot of the nurses, paramedics, doctors, they were going through a lot of shit and seeing a lot of death and all sorts. And it's not just them either. There's the porters and all the other staff members that are working within the hospitals that are seeing things and dealing with this pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. And I remember reading somewhere, it's like, how can a porter be suffering with stress and PTSD when he's not in the military? It's like, whoa. It's not just it's fucking everybody. You could be in a car accident. It's just the small-mindedness of certain people that don't understand. And that's the main thing.
Yeah, what the pandemic did for me in terms of like putting stuff into a perspective was like a lot of people really just don't believe things happen until it happens to them.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of people in the pandemic that are like, this is awesome. Like over here, everybody's sitting at home watching Tiger King and just
that was fucking brilliant.
and just doing it like this is pretty cool. I finally have a day off from work, like whatever. I don't have to do shit. I'm allowed to be lazy. Like it started off like that. But then it was this idea of like, that's not every household. Some households, somebody's getting beaten by their spouse, some kids at home, parents that hate them. Like that's just because Tiger King is your pandemic, you know, the person around the corner, it's not the same. And that's where I started talking to people about like PTSD and things that happen. It's like, just because you don't deal with it or how you deal with it is because you are in a combat role or something like that. That doesn't mean the next person next to you doesn't have it or doesn't have it because they didn't do what you did or something like that. It's like our experiences are going to vary. That's part of human. Like being human is different experiences.
Exactly. You could see something and you could be absolutely fine. I could see it and be like, oh, I'm fucked. This is done me over.
Everybody has different trauma responses. Like what we're able to take, what we're able to comprehend, how we register it, how we just digest it. Like it's all different.
Yeah, it's just and I spoke about it on a previous episode, and everybody should be aware now. I know it's Mental Health Awareness Month. We should all be aware now that people suffer differently.
Out there.
And it's what we do now. Like over here, we've had a few celebrities and that have committed suicide and whatnot, and the trend of be kind has come forward and whatnot. We should all be doing that anyway. I don't know
I think
what.
we get lost in
Yeah,
trends. I think we start focusing on the trendy thing, and then we actually forget what the message
yeah,
was
yeah.
in the
It's
first
mad
place.
though. It's mad because for me, yes, I comment, which I shouldn't, on a few things as a in a jokey way. Like I saw a vegan butchers on Facebook the other day, and I thought, you can't be a butcher if you're a vegan because you're not cutting up animals. But so I commented and went, "Isn't that a greengrocer's?" Blah blah blah. And then I'll put some other little jokey things, and I think, what am I doing? Why am I? They've just got a business. Just leave them to it. It's not affecting me. But it's this other little trolly little fuckers that hide behind the screens and whatnot. It's like, what? Why do you wake up in the morning and think, I'm gonna give some people some hate today?
Do they hate their own lives or they're
It's got to be
miserable? So
though,
they
isn't
have
it?
to
It's got to
just
be. There's got to be these little
gotta dish
triggers
it out. But
that.
that's how I started feeling like with the veterans that were reaching out, they were just tearing me apart for like just opening up. Like I wasn't really like I called people out here and there, but for the most part, it was just me talking about my story and some of the stuff I've gone through and how I've struggled and tried to heal from it. And then the backlash, and it was just like, how are you mad at me for like talking about my life? And then
Yeah,
I had to start realizing like a lot of these people, they have their own issues. They won't heal. They won't try to go to therapy. They're mad about something. And so they're just bleeding on everybody else because they won't fix their wounds.
yeah.
It's
It's
just,
it's as though they're hurting that much. They want someone else to hurt as much as what
you
they
can
are.
bring someone else down with you instead of trying to
Yeah.
find a way to get your ass back up. And so it's just,
It's that old saying, isn't it? You putting out my candle is not going to make yours bright any bigger. You know, I almost made that quote brilliant then, but I just had a sip of whiskey and my mouth stopped working. And for those that are tuning into the Ground Zero podcast, this is the first whiskey I've had in 7 months. So I was not drinking until I've got a charity football match coming up in July, or soccer match coming up in July. So I was like, I'm not going to drink until then. And I went out with my brother-in-law and father-in-law and played some golf. And obviously, when you get to the hole 19, you go to the bar. And I was like, it was a beautiful day. Sun was beaming. I was like, I really, really want a beer. And that was it. 7 months down the pan. So we're back now in the Shedio with a whiskey. So fantastic.
right on.
Right on. But yeah, what I was trying to say was,
Back to it.
yeah. So your story and your struggles, I take it wasn't all military based then. Obviously, your friends committing suicide obviously wouldn't have helped. Was it?
Yeah, I mean there's the side of it where it's like the suicide part where I dealt with losing buddies after I was out, where it gets just kind of lonelier and lonelier as time goes by. Kind of triggers your own stuff in the sense that you're not like I never ended up with PTSD because my friends killed themselves, but it really makes you aware of your own struggles because you realize how low you are and how close you're getting to that point where you're on the edge. And losing one of my buddies was the point I realized like, man, I'm really teetering close to a point where there might not be a return. And another big part of my story because of the PTSD coming in was the fact that I was dealing with domestic violence and stuff like that. And so I had a really different life to where uh, I started kind of integrating that into what I was talking about because a lot of people were kind of under the impression that if you're a soldier or just having been in the military, you don't deal with domestic violence because like I'm supposed to be GI Jane or something and
Yeah.
be able to like get the guy in a headlock and beat the shit out of him. But it was like that wasn't who I was. And so it was kind of talking about how you can be the combat vet that has horrors that took place outside the military.
Yeah, of
Like you
course.
can be dealing with struggles and have all these things that are not related to your service and still be a veteran. And so it's like I was trying to show that we're human, like we deal with
Yeah,
everyday things.
yeah, definitely. That's a huge thing that a lot of people think that obviously veterans are. Well, I say a lot of people have like a misconception that people in the military are all singing, all dancing, super strong, super hard, fucking Rambo,
People.
Captain America, or super soldiers. It's like, no, we're just regular people that have been taught a different skill set.
We're definitely not invincible. Like when
Although
we
you when
break, we bleed.
when you're going through, like when I went through basic training, my basic training was 6 months long. Yeah, I'm guessing 6 months long. 38, 32 weeks, I think it was in total. I think that's about 6 months, roughly. Um, and we are literally taught that you are like invincible, not
Mm-hmm.
in a certain way, and that really does boil over as well. So you go out on, as we would say, go out on the piss, go out on the drink, and that's why you tend to get a lot of veterans or servicemen will end up having bar fights and things like that. Is because, well, we are, you get told you're better than civilians, you're a better breed. We're not. We're fucking idiots.
I know that too because I've lived in a college town like the last 8 years,
Oh,
and
that's even
so
worse. Put
so
students in
you
with
got
veterans, or
it's the university sits about 10, 15 minutes from our military post,
oh,
and so
that's
they all so like the whole bar district, everybody just kind of like swarms in, and you got people just slugging it out because
yeah, yeah.
everybody thinks the other one's a piece of shit. Like you were too stupid to go to college, so you're in the military, and like you're too weak to be in the military, so they just like we're blacklisted from so many places here.
Oh yeah. I remember going out in the early stages of being with my now wife. We went out on a few occasions in the town where she lives, and there's a military base just up the road. And I went in. The only ID I had on me at the time, I didn't have my driving license. I just had my Air Force ID. So I gave that to the bouncer or doorman, and he looked at it and he was like, "Nah, you can't come in." So why not? He's like, "You're in the military. You're going to kick off." I was like, "I'm with my girlfriend. Why would I be? I'm not going to be fighting anyone." It's like, "Nah, sorry, we've had enough of you lot in here." It's like, "Oh, brilliant." But then, right now, I'd have just gone, "All right, cool, go on." But then it was like, "Hang on a minute, I serve my country. Why you won't let me in? What have you
Yeah.
ever done?" It's that's always the big one. What have you ever done? You work on a door. It's like, fuck. And I'm only 5'6", so I've got short man syndrome as well. I'm trying to fight the world.
Yeah, I had buddies that like if we would go out somewhere and they'd be like, "What's your veteran discount?" And they'd be like, "We don't give you guys nothing." And they're just like, "Oh, you hate the military? You hate America?" And it was just like, "Come on, dude, it's 10%. Like,
Yeah, it's not even worth it.
you're gonna save tax. Like, like let it go, man. Like, it
You
ain't
hate your
worth it."
freedom. You hate America.
Yeah.
I, you tend to find though that you guys over there, you support the military a lot better than what over here did with our military for a long period. Well, it seems from what you see, it might be different actually.
I mean, for me, it's hard to say because of where I live, because I live on an army post. So everybody's all
Oh yeah,
like
well hey,
waving the flag, and everybody's just like, oh, all this shit. But then you kind of, when you start getting away from the military communities, you start getting into some territory where, people think it's a waste of money. We're just a bunch of killers. We're the police, the world police. We stick our nose in everybody's business. We've been doing it a long time.
America,
We're just kind of like, we just kind of show up everywhere, like, what's going on? And,
fuck yeah.
we'll fuck things up, and then like, oh, okay, fix it. Like, I got to go to the next place. So, I mean, we do have kind of, we have our support, but there's still a lot of people that are just kind of like, why? Like, why are you guys over here? Why are you doing that? What do you actually do? You're actually a piece of shit.
That's a funny one, isn't it? It's like, excuse me, that question there, why are you doing it? It's like, oh, hang on, I didn't give the orders. I've just told to go over there. I might not agree with it, but it's my job.
Yeah, there was plenty of stuff I was told to go do where I'm just like, I mean, I was part of the female engagement team, and our whole goal was learn the language of the culture you're going to, learn Pashto. We're going over there.
Difficult.
You got to talk to them, got to talk to the women, talk to kids, because you need information.
Yeah.
But this is hearts and minds. We're fixing things. It's like, no, we're gonna fuck some people over. Like somebody's gonna get killed because I went and talked to them and then snitch them out and stuff like that. And so I remember saying, like, I don't want to be a part of the female engagement team. We're going to get a bunch of women and kids killed over there. They're like, no, stop thinking. Just do. Like,
yes. You're not paid to think.
You're wrong.
That was my favorite. Because throughout, again, back to basic training, we were told, you're in the RAF regiment. You're the Air Force Infantry. You are a thinking soldier. It's like, oh, fuck. Love that. As soon as you actually have a bright idea, hey, you're not paid to think. Oh, fuck.
Shut up.
But for me,
it didn't work out for me.
I didn't really find what we were doing in Afghanistan when in my first tour, I was out on the ground. I was seeing the locals engaging, doing the hearts and minds stuff. I thought we were doing a fucking good job. And it wasn't until my third tour, which would have been my second to Afghanistan, where I was actually in the command center working alongside the US Marines and whatnot. And I remember witnessing through some air ops, an ID team got airstrike, wiped out. And when they went down and recognized the body, it was a 14-year-old girl that was laying the ID down for the ID team because they knew that it's a little girl, basically. She was wiped out. And I remember thinking, like, that's not right. As much as like she could have killed a few Marines, she could have killed a few of my lads, but if someone had like actually sat down and spoke to her and like, I don't know, my mindset sort of switched from kill to what we could have done something else. And it was like, hang on a minute, we're in their country. This is their country, and we're trying to force our ideas on. No wonder we just plowed through their field. No wonder they're going to fucking shoot at us. It's like, imagine if someone did that in your own house.
We would have trucks, going out, and it's like you have to watch out to make sure you don't run over their goats or their sheep or like kill. It's their livelihood, the stuff they have out there. And we're just kind of rolling through, and you're trampling everything. You're getting in their business. You're trying to share our ideals, and it's like it's not going to work here. It doesn't work here. It sometimes doesn't work for us. But it was just really confusing to be like, am I here helping, or am I actually being more of a problem? Like, are we a bigger problem than what we try to sell it as? And most of the time, it came out to just like, we shouldn't really be here. But I'm low on the totem. I ain't gonna be able to tell anyone to pull out. So it's like, I'm just gonna go back to my tower and keep drinking Rip-Its and shut up.
Rip it. Yes. That stuff was bonkers. Rip it. We a few of when we were in Iraq, a few of the lads made a Rip It advert, and it's on YouTube. I've got a fucking bug flying around my head. And they literally take the piss out of the Americans drinking this Rip It, and it was like a bit of like an advert for an energy drink mixed with like Team America, just like Rip It, fuck yeah. It was actually quite a funny thing. I'll put a link so others can see it. But yeah, that stuff that gave me all sorts of stomach trouble.
Oh, we had those, and then we had like shot coffees that were just like pure espresso, and you're just out there just like who cares? We were like trying to make like coffee bombers out of them. Like, if I add this to my coffee in the morning, and throw some caffeine gum in the mix, like what might happen? Let's see if I can kill myself out here. I'm bored.
It's like you get back and have a medical, and they're like, you've got a heart problem, have I? What have you been taking? Rip It.
I've been shaking for a week.
Yeah, I haven't stopped. I'm still going. I've been home for 6 months and I'm still got the shakes.
Yeah, Rip It Can. That was like our mascot out there. It's just rolling through guns and rip.
We a few of us in Iraq. We found one of your big ISO containers, and it didn't have a padlock on it. And we opened it up, and it was literally full of cans of Rip It. And we were like, "Ooh,
What a find!"
this isn't secure. We're having this." It's like, what? That are some of the best games. What can you steal?
Yeah. Anything that fits in a Connex, really.
Yeah. So do you miss it? Sort of. You're still kind of sort of living the life with it. Do you say your husband is a husband or partner? Sorry.
Yeah, my husband is in. I miss it when he's not around, but when he comes home and tells me what the stupid shit they do, I remember why I left.
And you're like, oh, that's why I left.
And so it's a daily reminder of like, oh yeah, I remember why. Because when I moved away from the post for a little bit and I kind of distanced myself from everything military because I went through a little phase where I was just mad about it. And you start only thinking about the good times. You start missing your buddies. You start missing the stupid shit you did. You just only think about the good times you had because you're miserable. And then you kind of get back into it. I married back into the military, and it was just like, oh, like, yeah. But I remember that.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Like for ages, I was like, I'd be asked, Tommo, do you miss it? Would you join back up? I'm like, yeah. I went, if I didn't have the wife and kids, I'd be straight back in. And they were like, oh, really? And I went, well, yeah, I only left because of them. In reality, I left because I was starting to hate it. And I was always like, yeah, I'll join back up. I miss the lads. And then it wasn't until really that when I started doing the podcast, like I said, and I was getting all the hate, and it was from people that I served with in Afghanistan and were on the same regimental squadron as me, that were giving me the shit. And I'm like, are they really the people that I want to be back with? Nah. Luckily for me, I've got two very close buddies that literally live down the road from me, that were on the same squadron as me, did the same military tours as me. So if I want that little bit of military banter, that little bit of back and forth, I'll just give them a ring. Fancy coming around? Yeah, cool. Sit and have a beer. If we want to reminisce, we'll reminisce. If not, if we want to just take the piss out of each other, we'll do that. But it's like,
yeah, one of my buddies from my cavalry unit, he was one of our mechanics. He lives down the street, like 5 minutes. And so every once in a while, like, we'll meet up and just kind of reminisce. We'll talk about like how nobody died in Afghanistan just from doing stupid shit. Like,
oh yeah.
And you just have those moments, but then it's like it goes back to it where my husband gets home from whatever, and it's like, oh yeah. But there's that side to it too, and every once in a while I do. What's that?
You've got a whole different perspective now as well, because I've been saying this for years. Like, nobody thinks of the military spouse.
It changed my view because when I was I didn't like them. Military spouses annoyed me, especially being a woman serving. They don't like you either because you're the one that when their husband's not home, they're with you. Like,
yeah,
they just
you're
say,
the enemy.
there's always something. You're the one that goes on the deployment with them. You're the wife away from home, apparently. Like, even though it's like you just half the time are sick of each other's shit when you're out there because, I was supply. So somebody was always mad at me about something like a part missing or whatever.
That's your fault.
Yeah. And so you already have your issues and stuff like that, but you're disliked. And so in my mind, it was, okay, I'm going to not like you back. Like, it was pretty you
simple find concept. With a lot of the military spouses as well, if their husband or wife has a bit of rank, they assume that they've got the rank. I don't know if that's the same.
They are the rank.
Yes.
Yeah. Salute me. Why didn't you salute me?
It's like, I'm definitely, hey. Like, because for us, it's they take the Queen's Commission. So it's like, have you got the Queen's Commission? No. Why would I salute you, you fucking dick? Get out of my face. But I've had it before. So this is quite a funny story. We did we had a leaving party for my platoon before we left, and it was a proper dress up. So the women would be in ball gowns, the men would be in either dinner dress, or if they don't, like us scum don't have dinner dress, we would just have a dinner suit on.
Mhm.
And anyway, it got very drunk, and I remember my mum was there, and my mum, who obviously was married to my dad, that would have been a really stupid comment. My dad was a probably would say, I'm trying to think of the equivalent for your rank structure. Probably like a staff sergeant, maybe a first sergeant, maybe. He was one below a warrant officer. There we go. That's probably the best way to say it. Anyway, so my mum has seen this lady that's outside, and she's effing and blinding, like proper, like foul mouth, like absolute, like trailer trash, you might say. Like I'd swear with the best of them, but she was coming out with some doozies, and my mum doesn't really like foul language. We'll just put it at that. And she said, "Excuse me, a lady shouldn't be saying words like that." And she said, "I'm a sergeant's wife. I can speak how I want." I was like, "Oh, who says that?" And
A lot of them.
my mum just went, "Well, our rank over here is flight sergeant." She went, "Well, I'm a flight sergeant's wife, and I've told you to shut your mouth." And I was like, "Yes, have a fight. Who's the best?" I bet my mum wins.
No, there really is a rank structure within the spouse community, and I learned that when I married in. And I'm kind of like, I don't know where I fit because I'm a veteran also, so I'm like
Yeah,
a whole other level of a piece of shit.
you're
Like,
you're the
like,
biggest piece of shit.
yeah, like I am just trash. But it's like you come in and they're like, "So, what rank are you?" Like,
Oh,
what?
God, I have no idea if that actually happens like over here, but I could probably picture that it does. Like my wife said she never really got on with the other wives around, like in the military sort of the patch, as we call it, the military housing, which is one of the reasons why, to be fair, my wife started developing like depression and things like that while I was away, and even when I was in, because she hated everyone that was around her. No offense if you're listening, she didn't like you.
It's high school 2.0 and
Yes, it is,
housing.
isn't it?
It's
And it's like, if you're not in the clique, then
It's when the prom queens run the neighborhood, and there's one on every
yes,
on every street.
I'm getting attacked by fucking. But by the way, I record in my shed. This is where I record, and I must have left the door open before I got in here for a bit too long, because there are fucking
Extra
bugs,
guests.
and I've had to turn the lamps on, so now they're like, whee! So if you
No,
see me doing this a lot, I'm trying to get rid of these little cunts. Pardon my French.
but but no, like in the military, like I did not. I don't want to say I hated them. I won't go that far, but I severely disliked military spouses. And my reason for it when I was serving was uh I was one of the guys. I was attached to a cavalry unit. I worked with a lot of dudes, and I was treated as not really a sister. I was a little brother or a big brother to some, but it was like I was part of the group. And so I wasn't trying to sleep with anybody's husband out in a nasty ass field.
Yeah,
Like I wasn't trying.
yeah,
And so they were my support system. And so what I found was, like, when we came back from Afghanistan, you've been in each other's shit this whole time, like you got some pretty good connections, like you're really close. And you get back to your home life and they go back to their families, and it's like, I can't talk to you anymore. Like, my wife's mad about it. My wife doesn't like you. And it's just like,
that's hard, isn't it?
and
Like,
then you get out and you try to keep in contact with people, and it's like, I can't talk to you because my wife is going to think we're
yeah,
exchanging something or something like that. And it was just like, so how do I hold on to my buddies like when I get out?
that's
Because I didn't serve with a lot of women, so it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. That's
who
probably
do I reach out to other
it's a
female?
mad thing. I never really thought about that. because
And that was my biggest issue, was that it was like how the military spouses would hinder that connection, because it's like, what do I do for a support group? I don't know how to work with female vets. I didn't work with them in the service. So it's like,
yeah,
that's not my
my
group.
my support bubble are dudes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's mad how, no offense, how women's minds sometimes work. Like,
A little crazy.
yeah, it's no, but it's like if I'm working with a woman and you're like, even if you're sending them a text to make sure they're right, it's like, why are you sending that woman a text? What's going on there? Oh,
Oh,
she's
you
my,
love her more than
yeah,
me.
she's my buddy. But for me, I never really had that, because being infantry, we were at that point all men.
Yeah.
We were just solely dudes, and until we were getting ready to deploy, and then they would send the medics in, and occasionally you'd have a female medic, and I can sort of see why some like military wives could get like uppity, you might say, because when they came onto the squadron, it was like flies around shit. The fucking blokes is like, come on, lads, give them a fucking
Yeah.
break. Well, yeah, they're trying to just do a job as well. They don't need you seeing whose dick's bigger. We're not here for that.
But we
Well, some
definitely
might be.
had we did, but we definitely had those women that did come in that knew
Yes,
they had a
yes,
lot of
you do
guys,
that. Yes,
and it's pick of the litter and stuff like that. And so, and it's, they're kind of few and far between, I guess, compared to what other people see it as. But it's like they do exist, and it just takes that one to make it for everybody, like every woman.
one bad apple.
And so I could see where the spouses got it, but it was like, once I got onto the spouse side, I understood that from their point of view, because I at least understood the military from being in it. So I got, okay, he's not coming home tonight, it's late or whatever. It's not because he's cheating on me. He's stuck at a motor pool. They're doing this. Like, I understood his job, and that's the way it is. Sometimes you have to
Yeah,
camp out at the motor pool because somebody lost a screwdriver. It's like, there's some stupid stuff, but there are the wives
yes,
that
yeah,
are like, he's cheating on me. He didn't come home. It's like, no, like, maybe he is. I mean, I can't speak for him, but
yeah.
more often than
Most
not,
likely, he's got dicked with some shit job.
some LT is lost somewhere and they're trying
Yeah,
to find
they're
it.
trying to
Like,
find him. He's like, where are you? It's like,
they're
I
just,
don't know. I can't read my map.
it's just like, but it's stupid stuff. But like, you're alone a lot. And it's easy to get inside your head when you're by yourself
Of
and try
course.
to create whatever reality you can kind of live with. Like, he's not
Yeah.
home because there's another woman or something like that. And so I got where it was really tough. And I was actually talking to my buddy that does live right down the road, because my husband deployed not too long ago, but I was telling him, I was like, when I deployed, I thought, man, it must be a hell of a lot easier to be on that side of it, to where you're not getting sent off to some shithole. And
Oh
then it
yeah.
was like, then I was on the other side of it, and I was like, I don't think
It's
it is.
worse the other way around, I think.
It feels shittier.
Yeah, yeah.
And I told him, I was like, it's weird, because when you go over there, you just go do your job. You're still
Yep.
with your buddies and stuff like that. And then you get left behind. It's like, now I have to figure out how to do life like by myself and keep
Yeah, yeah.
everything
And
going.
you've
It's
got
like,
a kid as well.
yeah. And so it's just like,
So
this sucks.
it does. So my final tour, which is one of the reasons why I left, because I got my eldest, and when I left, she would have been almost one, possibly, or just one. She was very little. Yes, she would have been about, yeah, just gone one, I would have said, because I made sure I made sure, like I had a choice in it. I made sure she was walking before I left, because I didn't want to miss any good shit. The whinging and the crying, I can,
Get those first done
but
now.
I remember feeling how shit it was when we left. I got on the coach to leave, saying goodbye, giving my wife and my daughter a big cuddle and a kiss, and getting on and just being like, that's fucking shit. And then I thought, how the fuck is she feeling right now, knowing that I've just gone to a war zone and she's got to then be mum. It's like, that is, I'm never going to have to think about that, because yes, she does work, but she's a hairdresser. It's like, I don't have to go, oh fuck, she's got to go and cut hair. She's not going, oh, my husband's just gone. Like, yes, she knew that I was in like a non-combatant role when I left, but that doesn't mean that I couldn't be sat in my tent and a fucking rocket hits it,
rolling around in a truck somewhere and hit some
yeah.
shit.
It's like I've never been in that situation, and I've spoken to her about it, and she was like, yeah, it was awful. But at that time, that was her third time of doing it. I was like,
Yeah.
It's like, not that she's used to it, because it would have been worse, because she's then. So the first time I went, we were literally not long together, so that would have been shit anyway. Second time, she was heavily pregnant, and then the third time, she has a little toddler running around. It's like, fucking hell. And the second time I deployed, not only was she heavily pregnant, she was also planning our wedding. I got home and it was all done.
Yeah.
I got to pick the wedding card. That was it.
Yeah. My daughter's 4.5 now. This is her second time dealing with a deployment. And so for her, it's like that I could tell he was tore up about leaving. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to say goodbye to his kid. But then there's a side for her where she's just kind of like, why is he getting out of the car and he's not getting back in, and he didn't come home tonight, and is he coming back? And at 4, it's really hard to put that into a perspective. Like, you can barely explain to them what mac and cheese is. So it's like, she's not going to get, that, he's off doing a job. She doesn't even know what work is. So it's like,
she doesn't know
daddy's
where
going to be gone a while.
Yeah, she doesn't know where daddy's gone. It's like,
and then you can't even put into perspective what a long while is. They're just kind of like, okay.
Because I still, like, my eldest, she pretends that she remembers. She doesn't remember. She remembers because we bring it up. But when I came back, she obviously, on the homecoming, she gave me a big cuddle. She saw me on FaceTimes and things like that. The missus would have gone, oh, remember, that's daddy. He's on the FaceTime. But before I left, we were inseparable. She was a proper daddy's girl. Like, she was in my shadow. I'd do bath times. We'd sing to Ed Sheeran and shit like that. I came back and she didn't want daddy. It was all mummy. And I was like, fuck, that was heartbreaking. I was like, can I have some Jessica time? I don't like really saying her name on here, but can I have some? It's like, to be fair, now, right, she's almost 10. Now we're almost getting back to how we were. Yes, I was only gone for 7 months, but that was a big chunk of her development where it was all mummy. My youngest, she's pretty much my shadow. Like, she's always stiffing around doing stuff. But yeah, the eldest, like, she was all mummy for the longest time. It was like, geez. What didn't help was my mood swings, my depression and things like that, and my PTSD kicking in without me even realizing. And I was having these mood swings. She'd like knock over a can, and I'd fly off the handle, and I'm like, "Fuck, what are you doing?" And it wasn't until recently, obviously, starting the podcast, going to therapy, and things like that, I'm like, "Fuck, I'm shouting at her for no reason because of my issues, and I'm pushing my little angel away from me." It's been a proper struggle, can't lie. And she is one of the reasons why I ended up starting the podcast and getting help. I've said it loads of times on here. She was the one that found me in the kitchen on the floor in like bits. I was crying. Me and the missus had a bit of an argument, and I thought everything had gone because I was the one pushing everyone away. And she came down, put her forehead against mine, and was like, "No, Daddy, we love you. Everything's okay." And I was like, "That's my girl."
Kids are so forgiving. My daughter watched me go through so much stuff, and they're resilient.
They are, aren't they?
Little things. Like, and that's really, like, my daughter was what kept me pushing, what made me realize, like, I got to figure out a way
Yes.
to do better. like I gotta fix this shit because I'm gonna miss more than a couple firsts if I take myself out of it. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna miss her whole life, and is but I think for me, like having played I was married when I was in the military to somebody else. Like I've done the whole soldier up thing and get divorced and jack up
Yeah.
everything in my life. Like we all go through that. But it was like when I left, it's kind of like you leave your life behind. It's like, does everything just kind of pause? Like you leave and that's that last moment. And then when you come home, it's like you get dropped off in that same spot and then your life picks up again. But then when you're the one getting left behind, it's like things start really just like blowing through. Like I had her on the phone with her dad today, and he's like, "Gosh, she's changed so much in like a couple
They
weeks."
do. They change so quick.
And so it's like, and so for now, it's like just a blip. Like all this time just goes by, and she's like up, up. But on the other end, it's like it's dragging, or it just
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
move. It's weird.
Your husband will come home and he'll be like, "Wow." Yeah, I like you
New
said he's done it.
person.
He's done it a couple of times, isn't he? You say he's deployed a couple of times
Yeah,
since.
this is his second one with us. It's his sixth tour in all.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we had just started talking and then he deployed to Poland and went through that whole thing and it was like, all right, cool. And then we got married during the pandemic because it was like, how else can I ruin my life, you know? But so this is our official like married deployment where
Yeah.
I'm getting the whole like experience of it living on the army post and
Oh,
getting to
you're getting all the newsletters and that through the
I
post.
haven't like I thought I would. I haven't heard shit. Like I don't even know what's going on. It was like, isn't there supposed to be an FRG? Like, isn't somebody supposed to be running some family
Yeah.
stuff? It's like,
Do you
no.
know what? That on my it was either like could possibly have been both tours. The last two tours that I did to Kandahar and Bastion, especially the final tour, because my missus literally went, well, I'm not staying in the married quarters. That's not happening. If I'm at home with my little one, I'm going home, as in to her mum and dad's. She stayed with her mum and dad for pretty much the 7-month tour that I was there. Occasionally came out to pick up mail. But she gave the like forward on address as her mum and dad's. Did she receive any newsletters to see how we're getting on over there? Anything like that? Did she fuck?
Yeah.
Luckily, I was on camp pretty much. Yeah, in fact, the whole tour. I was on camp the whole tour for that one. So getting to the internet, getting to the phones was pretty easy, unless it was that op minimized where someone's tragically gone or seriously injured, then they would cut out. But other than that, I was pretty much on FaceTime most nights.
It was different when I was deployed though, because it was like the FRG was too in your business. It was like,
Too much.
don't tell them I'm coming home. It's going to be a really shitty surprise for him. And then they're like, your wife's on the way. It's just like, he had one thing to do, and it
Yeah.
was to do nothing. Like, you didn't have to do anything. I was asking you to just not do shit. And you had to do it. But then it's like, now on this side, it's like, where are those people? Because I got nagged about them needing info all the time. But now it's like, yeah, I guess it's just hit or miss for units. Some have them, some don't. And so
Yeah.
this is one of those don'ts. And
It's quite funny as well that those little things that you sort of remember. So our squadron or platoon, whatever you want, yeah, squadron. They always go, oh, by the way, if your spouse is pregnant or anything like that, you're having a wedding, we'll make sure we give your wife a big bunch of flowers. Do all that we can for the newborn or your wedding, and etc. etc. I got married, had a kid, and got fucking nothing. Literally nothing. And I was like, hang on a minute, I've paid in. You'd have to pay in to the squad. They call it the squadron fund. So you put money in, and it funds like the piss ups and things like that, or the flowers. It was like, I didn't get any of that. And it's like little things like the popular people would get leaving presents and things like that when they left the squadron to go to another one. I didn't get any of that. I didn't get nothing. Except for trolls when I do a podcast.
I hear that. Yeah, I didn't get shit. I mean, like, I remember
I got my own leaving present, which is my decanter for my whiskey, which I actually bought for my dad. I bought my dad a decanter while I was in the squadron. I was like in the squadron shop. I saw it and I was like, "Ooh!" I say the regiment shop. Sorry. I went, "Oh, that's fucking cool." My dad drinks whiskey. I'll get him that. It'll go nicely with his one that he was given by the SAS when he was teaching them how to parachute, or was one of their jump instructors.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a really cool SAS decanter next to my RAF regiment one. I was like, that's cool. And I left. I was like, no cunt is giving me a fucking present. I'm not bitter. I'm not fucking bitter. And I saw it in, because my dad now lives with my brother after splitting up with my mum. And I saw it in his alcohol case with all the fucking whiskies lined up. No whiskey in the decanter, by the way. And I was like, I'm fucking having that. That's mine. I'm having it. That's my leaving present. So that's now pride and place in the shed, or shedio, as I call it. Do you do things like that when you left? Did you get a leaving gift? Here you go. Or was it the golden handshake? See you later. Thanks for your service.
I don't think I even got a handshake. I mean, like,
no, I didn't get a handshake. Didn't get nothing.
It was basically like, I had seen people leave and they got like these big plaques, like somebody would give them some shit, and come to find out, I think it's usually just your buddies that do it, but it makes it look like this whole thing was put together for some special shit. And my whole thing was like, I had just gotten a new platoon sergeant. I don't think he was a fan of me. And so it was kind of like a transition point in our squadron taking place at a really shitty time, to where we got like this influx of new NCOs that didn't deploy with us, didn't do shit. So they're just kind of like, oh, you're just a piece of shit. Like,
yeah.
And so when I was saying bye, he's just like, and her, thanks for like what you did. It was just like,
you did a good job.
Deuces. And I just turned around and I shook my squad leader's hands and just like, bye. And I just walked out and I got my little like AM or some shit. I don't even know what they gave me, but it was like, got my little award. And it was right around the time our squadron had done some big shit. So everybody was supposed to get like custom coins for the cavalry shield and all that stuff on it. My platoon sergeant took mine. It was just like, you
what?
Like,
hey man,
coin. Like, everybody got a coin. Everyone got a coin and a poster, and it was just like, no, like, you fuck all, like, you just go bye. And it was just like, whatever. And so I kind of left bitter, like, man, I tried hard when I was here and you didn't care.
Exactly. And I was very similar. Like when I put my papers in to leave, I even said, look, I'll leave after this next tour. I'll do that one because you haven't got enough. Because at the time I was a radio guy, so I was like, you haven't got enough signalers. I'll do it. I ended up being the squadron lead signaler. Like, every fucking major incident we had went through me. Cheers. Did all that, and I was like, just leaving, and I was literally just going around the camp because you have to go around and get everything signed off to say like you're out of it. And I went back into the squadron, and there was literally nobody in there. They'd been on like leave or whatever, and I was like, oh, see you later. That's it. Ciao for now.
It's been
fun. It's been fun. This is a good 5.5 years, and there's nobody here to say goodbye. But thanks. Thanks for your time.
I mean, I did that for after like my 4 years ended with active duty, and then of course I go over to the reserve side where you get to kind of play at Army. You get to pretend you're a soldier for a little bit more. And like, I showed up, but they talked it up. Like, when I came in, they're like, so what do you do? I was like, oh, I'm certified on this. I got this security clearance, blah, blah, blah. And they're just like, oh my God, like, that's what we need. And then there was just kind of
we need all that. Give me it all.
But like, it was funny because I come in and it was like this big thing where I thought like, oh, they're going to really like me here. Like, I'm not going to deal with that again. And they're like, you have everything we could possibly want. And I go down to work in the motor pool and they're just like, we don't consider you qualified though to touch our stuff. And it was like some cadet that told me that. And I'm thinking like, like I've done my job in country, in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
I've been recertified. I don't know how many times my security clearance is good. And you're telling me I'm not qualified enough to like do the job I've done for 4 years? Like whatever. So by the time I got to the end of that, it was like I showed up one day and signed my name on a piece of paper, turned around and walked out. And it was like nobody knew I was there. And it was like,
It's
so I
mad, isn't
thought
it?
like I thought the single handshake from active duty, like, oh, that was shit. And then it was like, oh, it gets worse. like,
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
oh, that was
oh, this is terrible. It's funny because the amount of people have said to me, they're like, Tommo, why don't you just go to the reserves? It's like, no,
don't do it.
no, thanks. It's
That's
like,
something I wish I could have gone back and fixed it. I wish I could have just done stayed active duty
yeah.
and done
Don't get me wrong. It's not our reserves aren't that bad. But also, I'm good. I've like got to the point where I don't want someone younger than me telling me what to do. Um, it's like no thanks. I don't want that. And I also like now they've sort of semi brought it in where you can grow a beard in the Air Force and the Navy, and I'm not 100% sure about the Army. I think the Army are trialing it because obviously,
last I heard they were trying. I don't
yeah.
know yet.
And I was like, I don't really want anyone telling me that I need to shave on a weekend because it takes me long enough to grow this shit beard. But the fact that I can grow this shit beard without someone going, shave that, is fine by me. I quite like my shit beard. Nobody else does, but I like it. So
I'd seen that they just made it to where women can wear ponytails in all uniforms now, and I'm just gonna wait and see how that works out.
yeah, I don't know what the what we would say gen. I don't know what the gen is with hairstyles. I know it's like what it used to be when I was in anything under our beret or cover, as you guys would say. Um, anything under is ours. Anything outside is the military's. So obviously you have to have it short back and sides. But anything underneath, I could have it all long and loosey goosey if I wanted.
Yeah, I know for like when I was in though for women, it was like you had to have a bun. It had to be where your cover
Right.
could sit on it a certain way. Your PC couldn't be popped up a certain way. Your beret had to sit a certain way. You couldn't have like this massive ball back there to where you couldn't get an ACH on or something like that. Like it was going to get in the way of a mask or whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
now it's just like, oh, just wear a ponytail wherever. And I'm just thinking, like, man, I worked in a motor pool. Like, if my ponytail got caught in something, like that's a
Oh, you
bad.
dead. Oh, you
You go
dead.
get scalped
Dead.
at work today, but it's just like everybody's happy about it, and I'm just kind of like, I mean, there's reasons why things
Yeah,
existed,
that yeah.
they did, but
Things like
whatever.
having your hair down and shit like that, especially if you're working in with the engineers or with the mechanics and things like that. You're like, well, obviously you need your hair up because if it's not, you could die. But you know, PC gone mad these days.
Well, we'll see where it gets everybody.
Yeah, it's it's also the same with like certain roles within the military is always a good talking point, especially having a female on now. Because there was always a talk of getting women into the infantry, getting women into the special forces, getting women to do this and that. And I've always been, yeah, if they can do it, let them do
Yeah,
it.
if they can do it, cool.
Yeah, and I've had conversations with my missus and things like that. They're like, "What do you mean if they can do it?" I was like, "Well, don't lower the standards just because it's a woman, or lower the weight that they have to carry and things like that. If they can carry it and do it, why can't they do it?"
Yeah,
But
when I
it's
heard like combat arms opening up to women, it wasn't open to women yet when I was serving. But when I was getting out and I knew it was opening up to them, it's just like, that's cool. If you can do it, and I understand that there are women that can match the level of what the men are doing, but on average, it's not. That's not a thing. Like, you have to definitely put in a lot of work to hit that level. And if you're willing to do that and you can maintain that, more power to you. Congrats. Like, you shouldn't be barred from doing it. However, the people I knew that were going in just to be like, 'cause part of that first wave, to be like, oh look, you know, I'm one of the first
one. Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, what? like some little like, hey, if you can do it, badass. If you're just doing it to say you did it, like to have the title or whatever, I hope you're ready to deal with the fact that you're probably gonna get somebody killed, or you're gonna be dead weight.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't want to see for other women, was that I'm all for us doing the damn thing, and
I'm all for equality.
But it's like, if you're gonna make us look stupid and remind everybody why they didn't want us there in the first place, then no. Like, don't do that. Don't set us back.
Don't do that. Stop that. But it's like, I remember, obviously you're gonna get some fucking Amazonian woman that does CrossFit that is bigger than me.
Yeah.
That could obviously run further and do. It's like,
definitely exist.
Get you in there. Get fucking Wonder Woman in there, sure. But yeah, like you said, if you see someone that's like, no offense to my mum, built like my mum, who is 5'1" and like nothing, it's like, you're not going to be able to carry the same weight that I'm going to carry. And if we're on a march and you start struggling, someone else is going to have to carry your shit. And to be fair, even that happens even with the blokes. During my basic training, the amount of times that we had people, we were marching up a fucking mountain, where it seemed like a mountain, it's probably just a big fucking steep incline, but started struggling, and like, you'd see him fall further and further back from the pack, and it's like, Jesus Christ, give me your fucking rifle, or give me your I had it. I didn't. I was witness to it on fucking tour in Kandahar, where we had a machine gunner who was carrying a GPMG, big general purpose machine gun, massive fucking thing. He was badged to be a proper machine gunner. We get given little badges that say, "Oh, you're a machine gunner, well done." We were marching through this this little village, and we were in Kandahar, where there's only one massive mountain. Everything else is pretty much flat. We're about half an hour into the patrol, and he's like, "I can't carry this anymore." He had to pass his machine gun over to another lad to carry, because he couldn't do it. So it happens with the men as well.
It definitely does. I mean, heart goes a lot of way. I mean, like, if you some people just don't have any heart. Like,
he didn't. He had no spine, no heart, no nothing.
You got the tiny heart syndrome or whatever.
He was just a fucking waste of space.
There's some people. I mean, I learned that I was not infantry material in the cavalry when we did our spur rides, and I was handed a 75-pound ruck and said, you know, go do 10, 15 miles or whatever. And you start at like 8 p.m. and it goes to like 5 a.m. And I wasn't the last one. I was ahead of some of the guys, some of the support guys, not in front of any of the cav guys.
Make note
but
of
it was like, it's like, I did get in before some, you know, some distro people or whatever, but never handed my shit off, finished it, was behind. So, I mean, I would have been, if it was like a combat situation, I would have been alone, very fucking alone. But it was like, it was the realization of like, this is hard. And it's like, I finished it. I had all my shit. Nobody was going to touch my bag. I told people to fuck off if they want to touch my bag, because they didn't want to be that person. But it was like, no, like and it's not like you train for a spur ride. It's just one day it's like, hey, you're going on a spur ride. You're going to go do some cav games. You're not trained for this at all. We just want to see what you can do.
Yeah.
So that's going in with like just PT standards. And we all know PT standards is shit. Like,
what are you talking about? It's the best. It's up here, benchmark level.
It's like, I realized it's like, man, if I was to ever, if this was going to be like my everyday job, like I would have to do so much more than what I'm doing now. I'm 5 foot nothing. And it's like, you know, just like shuffle my bag.
I remember going up for some bizarre reason, right, I say some bizarre reason. From what I've been told by other people, my flight commander, so he would have been a flight lieutenant, so he'd have been like a lieutenant, wanted to take some photos up 3 Mile Mountain in Kandahar. So he was like, well, we're going to do a patrol up there because there could be IEDs up there. Nobody would put an IED up a fucking mountain, you dickhead. But anyway, so we did this fucking thing, and I had to carry the extra radio and all my shit, plus my rifle, which had the UGL on it and underslung grenade launcher. Sounds cool. Don't need it. Didn't need it. Don't give it to me. Why did you give it to me? But anyway, so we did this this march up 3 Mile Mountain. It took forever, and at one point I was hanging out so much that my rifle then became a walking stick to try and get up this fucking mountain. We got back and we had some scales, and I weighed my kit, and I had 135 pounds of kit on, and I was like, I'm carrying a 9-stone person. This is ridiculous. I'm carrying a person plus my own body weight, and I might be 5'6", but I'm not a slim guy. I'm quite a stocky motherfucker. I'm carrying a lot of weight, and I wonder why my lower back and my knees and my ankles have shot to shit. That's because I was a pack horse. They just gave me all the kit to carry up the fucking mountain. So
I remember I got out and I was talking to the VA, and I'm like, so what issues do you have? Like back and hip problems? But what did you actually do? Like,
yeah.
Did you actually? And I'm just thinking like, oh, with kit and a ruck.
Didn't get any of
It's
that.
like,
On our like medicals, it's like, you okay? He's like, yeah. It's like, cool. You haven't got any issues on your paperwork? Cool. Sorry, God. So they didn't go, have you got any issues? Yeah, my fucking knees and my ankles are fucked.
And it was just like, I always just loved it though when I'd go over to like the VA, and then you just start talking about all your all your problems, and talk about how you're 25 and you feel like you're 80, and it's just, but it's like you're trying to explain. They're just like, how do you, like, you can't do anything over there.
My wife thinks it's hilarious. So when I wake up in the morning and I walk off to the bathroom or whatever, because I've had bad ankles all my life, so it's not down to the military. I actually found out it could possibly be hereditary because my dad's ankles are shit as well. Not because of his parachuting, which is actually quite funny. In another story, my dad almost got told he wasn't allowed to parachute because of his ankles. We basically have got no ligaments in our ankles. So when we're like walking, every now and then you'll just see us roll our ankle for absolutely no reason. It's like, why? My missus finds it hilarious. She's like, why are you falling over? I was like, I don't know. My ankle just gives way for no reason. But when I wake up in the morning, I'm literally like a 70-year-old man. I'm like, just getting up. She's like, what's the matter with you? It's like, Dad, I'm old. She's like, how old are you? I'm like, 34. But I feel like I'm 80. I only did 5.5 years. Can you imagine if I did the full 22?
I always tell my civilian friends, it was just like, you got to start counting those years you do in the military as like dog years.
Yeah.
Because it's like for each year in, it's like, let's just knock 7 to 10 years off your life. Like,
it must be really bad for women in the military as well, especially if you're carrying like rucks and whatnot and all the weight, because your hips are designed differently.
What really screwed it up was when, like, especially in basic training and stuff like that, when they make you front load, or like when you're deploying and you got 50 bags you got to carry, so you got to front load your duffels or something like that, and you get a lot of like stress fractures in your hips and stuff like that. A lot of people leave basic training with jacked up hips because you're not built for it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
another thing you learn to be like.
Yeah, I said it to my missus quite a few times. Like when obviously when it first came out, going back to women in the infantry and whatnot, I'm like, I'm all for it, but they are built different. So you guys carrying the same weight as us is not going to be good for their hips and whatnot. She's like, but we child bear. So yeah, I know that. That's what you're designed for. You're not designed to carry a fucking 9-stone man on your back.
Yeah, like when I was pregnant, like dealing with like having a 30-pound like pregnancy like gain, it wasn't the same as having the 75-pound ruck and kit and a weapon and whatever the hell else on my back.
Shit's different. Shit's different. It's different. It's not all out here, and yeah, it's pain. It's a pain in the ass, literally.
But again, like if women, if they train for it and they can do it and they can push through
Oh
it,
yeah, all for it.
good job. But like as a woman to those women, it's like you better do the damn thing. Don't like don't give people the reason to believe we don't belong there that already don't believe that we
Yeah,
like
because
shouldn't be there. Like
my regiment
yeah,
was the first regiment in the British forces to open up all genders to all trades, you might say, and we were the first ones to pass out a woman into the infantry. And from what I've seen and heard, she hasn't done much since. It's like, but then again, the pandemic has hit, so she's been out doing all the pandemic stuff, what everybody else has to do, knocking on doors and, will you take your jab? Yeah, cool. But other than that, but then again, we're technically in peacetime. We haven't got any active war zones, so she shouldn't be carrying all the weight for no reason. Excuse me.
see how long that lasts.
Yeah, it's if something kicks off, will she be the first one deployed out? Who knows? It'd be it should no reason not to, but it's also little things that I've seen, and it obviously it changes from person to person, gender to gender. When we were doing our pre-deployment, and we had you may have them. We have like amputees in action and things like that. The ones that are in movie, like I almost said movie films. That's not a saying. In movies is what I wanted to say. Like in Saving Private Ryan and things like that, when on the beach and you see the amputees with the blood spraying everywhere. We have them on our pre-deployment to try and get us ready for if anything like that happens. And we were doing a patrol in the Afghanistan village, and there was a rocket or an IED, and there was a family that had been wiped out, and it was a doll, just a normal like kid's doll that was wrapped up. That was obviously, and the mum was screaming and blah blah. We had a medic that was supposed to come in and help out, female, and she literally just burst into tears. And we were on pre-deployment. We knew it was fake, but it was like, well, clearly she can't come on tour with us because she's just broken down. And
Yeah.
it's like, but then again, I've had it with blokes, exactly the same situation. We've
I've seen guys pass
yeah,
out seeing
yeah.
like
We had a IED again, amputees in action. I was the lead medic, so we ran forward towards this vehicle. We opened the back doors, and these legs fell out, and there was a bloke screaming in the back with no legs. Tell you what, the makeup on it was fucking superb, because I was like, that's a bit real. But my oppo shut the door. He was like, I can't see that. I was like, mate, we got to fucking save his life.
can't deal with that today.
We're going to deal with that today. But again, a similar thing, like you just said, I've seen blokes, one of my close mates, I'm going to stitch him up now because he does listen. We were doing a medics course, and my I want to call him the lead medic on the squadron. He wasn't. He just thought he was. And he was trying to show us how to put a cannula in, and we were like, are we? I don't think we're supposed to do that. We're supposed to just be there if we need to put a tourniquet on. But one of the lads is very vascular, so he had these veins all fucking popping out, and he put a fucking cannula in, but he sort of missed it. It just fucking no, he didn't. He got it in, but he didn't close the valve, so he just went. Psst. And one of my mates was just sat there, and he went grey. His skin, everything just went grey, and he just went, "Oh." You're like, Chris, you better fucking sit down, mate, before you pass out.
when when we were going through the female engagement team, we would do our training where it would just be us women from the brigade come together and do like our cultural training, and then we would integrate with the infantry for other days of the week where you do your little like mock village time, going in, identifying bombs, all this stuff. And that's when I started realizing what, like, there was women I definitely served with that were all about, like, if combat arms ever opened up, I would go. But part of our training was learning about what the women, the Afghan women, dealt with, especially when it comes to the men. So we had to watch videos of them getting, you bury them in the ground up to their waist or up to their neck, and they just stone them to death. And
they're nice guys.
there was, oh yeah, and there's like 30 women or so in our classroom, and before the film's like halfway through, and it's reenactments, like they didn't actually like throw up some like YouTube stuff they found, like did a little reenactment stuff, and probably 90% of the room left, went and sat outside, didn't want to deal with it. And it was me, and it was really just those of us that were in the cavalry unit that were just sitting there like, shit. I mean, it's like, this is, if you think it, it's life over there, but it was a real quick thing to realize, like, if you guys can't handle that, like, we're about to deploy to that place. Like, that's where we're,
it's mad,
like,
though. How people don't realize. That's what happens when you talk with your hands.
That's why I don't wear them.
Yeah, I know. I might stop
over here.
because my Mac, the fucking lead is on the right, but the actual headphones, it goes in the left ear. But to be fair, I could just switch them around, but it's left and right. But yeah, you're right. It's like, what are you going to be like in like a real life situation? But then again, you don't know what you're going to be like in a real life situation until it actually happens.
Changes when you get that adrenaline rush going. Yeah. Like, people can be surprising. The ones you expect to do well can do shit, and then the ones you expected to cry or pass out are the ones that actually end up saving somebody. So you never know when you go over there. But I know during that training, I was overly disappointed. It's just, but I guess
I used to get that as well. Like when you'd be on like a training course, and they're like especially like a medic one, and they're like, oh, people have passed out during this, and people just throw up and leave the room. It's like, oh, this is gonna be brilliant. And you're watching, like, oh, I've seen worse horror movies than this. It's like, come on, give us a bit more. Give us something real.
Yeah. God, I hated those medic courses. I was just bored all the time because I was like, I brain dump shit. If I'm not using it every day, I'm just kind of like, tourniquet, like, and then so I get in there and I'm just like pissed off because it's like, I can't remember which way to crank it. And it's just like, I don't even get shit. Like, they're just like, his legs are missing. I'm like, I know. And I'm just like, I'm just mad at the tourniquet. Like, I just shut off to the other stuff. Or like, hey, he's got a sucking chest wound. Put the thing on, like, the fucking adhesive stuck to my face. Like, just mad. Yeah. And it's like, whatever. It's like, he's dying. I get it. I'm working on it. God.
This is not real. If it was real, I would have done it. I'll do it on the day.
I hear him breathing.
I'll do it on the day. But yeah, we used to have the main guy. He was for the medics on the squadron. He was such a dick, but it was good training. But he was such a dick. Like, you'd be walking through the squadron hangar, and he'll go, "Oh, you've just lost your legs." It's like, get on the floor. Oh, fuck's sake! And then you'd get down, and he's like, "Oh, what are you doing? You got a self medicare, haven't you? Why haven't you put your tourniquet on?" It's like, because I've just lost my legs. I've forgotten how to do it. Where's me Oppo? Why is he not here? It's like, fuck off. I just want to go.
We had a female medic that I always hated when she was running our courses because she just hated me. I think it's just because I was another woman out there, and she was also attached to our cav unit, and so she just wanted me to look stupid. So like we'd get out there, we'd get this guy all prepped, and she'd be like, "All right, are you ready?" I was like, "He's done. He's good. His limbs are like everything's tied off." She's like, "Oh no, his tourniquet just fell out." Like she's throwing shit
Yes,
everywhere.
he
Like
just pulled it off. His tourniquet's just gone.
I know,
Has it? Would that happen?
and it's just like that's not real. Fuck you.
Yeah. Fuck you, you dick.
I remember just standing there one time, just staring at her like, you know, this wouldn't happen, right? Well, you're failing right now. Like, well, you know, I'm gonna punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
You're failing right
there's
now. You're gonna fail in a minute when I punch you in the throat, you dickhead.
You know, fail at life. Like,
You're gonna fail at
like,
life. Yeah. You're
but,
gonna
like, I
you're
didn't
gonna
learn anything during those.
you're gonna need a
Nothing.
tourniquet when I
I'm
fucking
gonna put her on
your
your
arm
fucking
off.
forehead here in a minute.
I'm gonna wrap it around your throat so you can't breathe.
Actually, me and my buddy got kicked out of a medic class almost one time because he's like, "You want to see what it does?" I'm like, "Shit, why not, man?" So he's like sitting there cranking it and like, "You're purple, that's for sure." They came over and told us to knock it off. It was just like, we do this training every 3 months. Like, I fucking wanted to know what would happen to his head.
Yeah.
Like,
And it did exactly what I thought it was gonna do. He's gone purple.
I
and
won't do it. I'll make sure to not put it on someone's head. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
trial and
definitely.
error here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Winning, if anything. Is he dead? No. Saved his life.
Learn something today. That's all we're here for, right?
That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. Well, dude, that I could literally carry on talking for hours and hours. But one, I need a piss. And two, I don't want to take up the rest of your afternoon when you've got your little lady running around. That's probably going to need some mummy time at some point. Seeing as it's
I'm sure she's not choking the dog or something.
yeah. But I'll tell you what, it's been a fucking brilliant chat. I've loved it, and I'm gonna have to get you on again, definitely, 100%.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I appreciate coming on.
Oh no, thank you. A pleasure is all mine, and the honor as well. But it's been brilliant. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime.
I'll catch you again soon.
Alrighty.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
I'll do my best.
Catch you in a bit.